our Literary Feast 2009 participants, and he's with us today to talk about some of his works. He teaches English at Broward College, and his newest work is Poetry on Strings. Professor Plumb, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you became a writer? What inspired you to start writing?
I wrote since I was very young. I wrote little stories from the time I was 7 or 8 years old. And I never finished them, but I was always writing and I was always reading. And then I got lost with that, and I didn't write for a lot of years, and I worked in the medical field for a while. One night I went to a party, and at the party the dog was drinking out of the toilet bowl, the music was playing in the back room, and in the kitchen someone was reading Lawrence Ferlinghetti's Coney Island of the Mind. And I walked into the kitchen and I listened to the poems, and I thought to myself, I've never heard anything like that before. And the next day I began to write again, and I said, I'm going to San Francisco. And I finished school and went in the service, and when I came back, I hitchhiked to San Francisco.
How about that?
You know, and met Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and I spent time with him and the like, and that's where it began.
Wonderful. And what has influenced your writing? Your newest book, Poetry on Strings?
Newest book is
Yes?
Poetry on Strings. Yes.
What inspired you to write this particular book?
This particular book is a very interesting thing for me, and a good thing, because it allowed me to find a new voice. And a lot of writers don't get that chance and can't do it, or it just doesn't happen for them. They're encouraged to stay where they are. I went to the Coral Springs Museum to see marionettes. I love marionettes and puppets because they intrigue me just for who they are. And I walked in, and there was Lolita coffee cup hanging from the ceiling. And I looked up at Lolita and I said, well, man, that's cool. And I wrote a poem for Lolita. And then I ran around, and there was another one called Greed, and I wrote for Greed, and then I began writing them for them. And then the director of the museum introduced me to Pablo Cano, who is the marionette maker who works out of Little Havana and Miami. And we met and we talked, and over a period of a couple of years, this is what's happened.
Very nice.
You know, and that's...
Can you tell us a little bit about the marionettes that star in your book? The process of how that came to be? You were telling me some of them are quite large.
Yeah, some of them are quite large. Lolita's about this tall.
Wow.
Matilda Hippo's a little bigger. Tyrannus Rex the dinosaur, I think he's 8-9 feet tall.
Okay.
And some of them are large, and some of them are, but most of them are, say, this size. And they vary in the way they're carried and moved about. And they come, and they're made, most of them are made from parts and junks and cans and guitars and all kinds of stuff like that.
How very interesting. And if we wanted to hear some of the readings from your newest book, where can we go?
Well, my next reading for these books, more than likely, because the book comes out next month, will be in the Miami Book Fair. And Pablo and I will do a demonstration on the 14th. One will be in the adult section, and one will be in the children's section. And we'll present a few of these marionettes for the audience, and I'll read the poems for the marionettes, and then we'll have a question and answer period to talk about it.
Wonderful. And for some of the students who may be thinking of one day becoming authors, there are challenges like perhaps writing blocks. Do you ever feel like you've lost a little bit of inspiration? And if you have, how do you continue to write? How do you work around that?
I think at this time in my life, I've written so much that I can tap it whenever I want to, because I write. And I encourage to tell my students that if you write every day and do it just like a job, you can do it. And it's not that you are so much more special, it's just that you're used to doing it, and it works for you. And I may have times when I'm kind of flat, nothing works, or I'm looking for a new voice. I can remember going to a poetry reading and standing up and reading, and people clapped, and I thought, God, this stuff is awful. And I went home and I didn't do a poetry reading for 2 years.
Oh.
And I sat and wrote this horrible poem over and over again for about 2 years, and then another voice came out. But it's staying with it like anything.
Wonderful. And is there any works that you have in the near future that maybe you can give us a glimpse at? Are you working on any special projects?
Well,
or
right
are you
now,
looking for a new voice?
I have a novel, an historical novel that I am pushing at this point. It takes place in 1938. It's called Flight to Point Reyes in California, and it's about an ex-con who was released from prison on the condition that he leave the country. And he gets on a plane up in Medford, Oregon, and the plane crashes at Point Reyes.
Wow.
And much of it takes place on the plane. I researched it for several years so I really understood what was going on. Because one of the great things about research is you may not use it all, but if you may only use 6% of it. But that 6%, you'll understand the voice and everything that's going on around you rather than trying to wing it and not knowing stuff.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a very interesting work that you have coming.
Thanks.
We'll look forward to seeing that. We're delighted that you are able to join us for this year's literary feast. And thank you so much for being with us today. And we'll make sure that we come see you at the book fair later this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.